I have a burning question. Jordan Allen, when you are doing a British accent, do you have to fake a British accent?
It's 100% fake. I feel gross doing it. I feel like a phony. It's funny. I went to England on a trip over one summer, and when I came back to high school, I made the conscious decision to pretend, hoping that eventually it would set. And within a day, I felt like a scumbag.
Oh, so
yeah,
funny.
I bailed. And I don't even do a good one.
How long were you over there for? Like, was it like, oh, I was there for 2 days?
Solid 3 weeks, yeah. Okay. I mean, that's
it's a little weird.
Yeah, it's very, come back, and I love. They're like, what's wrong with you? Who are you trying to impress here?
So do your parents have an accent or no?
They do, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Mom and dad both have an accent.
So you feel like you don't have a solid enough foundation to like kind of get away with faking it?
What kind of life is that? You know what I mean?
Well, I mean, like,
I can't let anyone
go
hear
to a bar.
A distinguished one.
A distinguished one, yeah. It would serve me in many ways. It really would. It'd be very beneficial to have a British accent. I'm aware of this.
Yeah,
many
like,
people have told me this.
When it comes to like statistics, like being white and being male puts you at the top of the game. Having a British accent is even the tip top of that.
Yeah, that's you've climbed to the top of the cake, and then you've ascended the cherry.
Yeah,
with the British accent.
Yeah,
and
climbed up that stem.
Yeah, and so I've held on to some of the vernacular. I certainly use some words that are British.
Like.
Well, now I'm on the spot.
I feel like I've heard it.
The other day I was out with my girlfriend and some friends, and I said, "Oh, that was lovely," but I was sincerely.
Yes.
That was a lovely meal, and I guess lovely isn't used very often.
Yeah, it's a little more, I don't know, flowery over here. I feel like in Britain it's very common parlance.
Oh, that's lovely. Yes. So yeah, I wish I had it.
Did we talk about this the other day? Do you say Z or Z?
I say Z.
Okay.
But I respect Z.
Where does Z come from?
The moon.
Canada? I don't know.
It's like an alien species. Yes.
I say Z though, like Z depth pass.
Z depth.
Oh, you say Z.
Yeah, Z's
But
very Canadian.
I'm
Feels like
wondering
more work.
because, well, actually, I thought about this recently because I was like, well, most letters, they sound like it's the sound you make associated with that letter.
Yeah.
But except for W.
Yeah,
You don't say W.
Yeah.
Because like E is E.
and it's not even 2 U's; it's 2 V's.
Yeah, it's so right.
It's a
Yeah,
shame.
that is infuriating.
Really, we got to take down big alphabet.
Big alphabet.
But Z, like if like Z is Z,
Z.
but Z is not Z.
You're totally right.
But I think we
I'm
should
Team
ban
Z.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I no longer respect
Z
Z.
is better, and it rhymes. If you're saying out the alphabet, it rhymes.
There you go. A little bit of
Yeah.
language.
Well, Nico, right before this, you were trying to tie your shoe with one hand.
Yeah, because
I wonder if you can explain to the audience why you don't have use of your
Yes.
left arm.
Yeah, well, so I got asked this question a lot because we were in Vegas over the weekend at NAB, which stands for North American Association of Broadcasters. It's basically the big convention where all the software and cameras and stuff get shown off. It's a convention we can go to where we have colleagues that aren't like influencers, right? Like we have our like YouTuber influencer-y colleagues, and we have our like video production filmmaker colleagues, and like NAB is like the filmmaker side of it. But I got asked this question a million times: what happened to your arm? And thankfully, I broke my collarbone doing something cool, because if I broke my collarbone doing something lame, it would be a tough time.
Yeah.
But yeah, last weekend, I went over the handlebars of my mountain bike, slipped on some dirt I was going downhill on this little swoopy part because I didn't want to lift my bike over the gate. So I decided to do the really tricky, steep, washed out dirt thing, like a little water gullet. I'm like, I'll just manage the side of this little gully here. And my bike kind of slipped a little weird, and I tried to get back in. It was really steep, hit my brakes a little bit, the front tire twists around, and I have nowhere to go but over my handlebars. I try to roll it out, just turns out to be a pile drive into the ground into my shoulder. And you just tell instantly, like, the amount of force that just went into my shoulder is more than the structural integrity of my shoulder. Like, something's got to give.
Yeah.
Let the bodies hit the floor. So
As they say.
Thankfully, it was really at the very end of the trail. So I got up, walked 20 feet down to the road, and laid down. Guy was with me. So he's had some practice with taking big injuries and having to deal with that. And my wife wouldn't answer the phone. I called, and I'm like, uh-oh. So I called Peter. I called Peter to pick me up. Peter, I broke my collarbone. I didn't actually know I broke my collarbone. Like I fell off my bike fairly badly.
That's amazing.
So he came out and helped out, and
It's beautiful. I love that you fell to your training too. when you went over, it went through your head to do a stunt roll.
Yeah.
Like that is
pretty cool.
I wouldn't have thought of that. Like, yeah, that's pretty I mean, it didn't work.
It worked in the
We know that.
past. I was driving an ATV and a root hooked across the front axle and threw me over the front of the ATV. And I emerged from that unscathed, feeling really cool. Because I did like a full flip and everything. It's like, ha. And that didn't work out this time.
Is this your worst like injury you've had? Like
Yeah, I've never broken a bone before.
Wow.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh,
That was my
wow.
first time breaking a bone.
Dang.
No way.
Dang.
Yeah. So
10 out
I
of
could
10 would recommend.
get into
or-
that club.
no?
You haven't broken a bone?
I have.
You
I've
have.
many.
I mean, honestly, like here's the thing. Like it's going to get me less sympathy, but it really isn't that bad.
Yeah.
Give me the pillow. Give me the pillow. You're done.
Like it's not even in the same realm as Ren's.
I'm not on any painkillers right now.
Yeah.
Oh,
Was
yeah.
Ren's? What was the difference? Oh, you chipped the end of it.
Well, I didn't chip it. The end snapped. It's like imagine the head of a match, breaking that match head off and then breaking that in two.
That's worse than a chip. Yeah.
Yeah, so that's what happened.
Yeah.
But Ren's broke right in the middle of his collarbone.
And it like exploded.
Yeah.
There's like
Yeah.
splints and everything.
Oh
there.
man.
Yeah, thankfully mine's all aligned. It's all set up. There's a picture on my Instagram. If you want to go take a look.
Check it out.
But yeah, it's the main thing is I'm just like I feel like I was really good about not messing it up the moment it happened. Like I crashed, broke it, and it's like something's wrong. I kept my shoulder like stabilized. And I think they just kept the pieces aligned. You know, there's a lot of flesh in there. It's kind of holding things in place. Hopefully. I don't know how it actually works, but I'm just guessing.
Ugh.
Yeah. But I got some x-rays. It's like, it's broken. It's like, oof. All right. The thing is, I went to urgent care the day of, and the person before me in urgent care was having an allergic reaction to something that was closing her airway. So I went in after her, and the doctor is just so elevated
Yeah.
and so hyped up. They're like, what happened? I'm like, I fell off my bike. And they're like,
Yeah.
you should go to the ER right now. I'm like, well, I mean, I landed on my shoulder. He's like, you could be bleeding internally. You could die right here on my. On my
Just in
offering.
full
I'm like-
hero mode. He's
I'm
like,
like, yeah. I'm like, I respect that. I don't think I am, but I respect it. But I think I'm okay. It's like, we need to get you like a neck brace. I'm like, I don't think my neck's broken. I'm literally like doing this. Like, I think I'm okay. I think I just, broke something in my shoulder or whatever. Can we get an x-ray, please? Don't want to go do a CAT scan right now. It's 9 p.m. Like, just an x-ray. Sure enough, I got the x-ray, but they made me put like my arm up, which is a little like funky.
yeah.
Like,
He didn't want
do
to
it.
peak too early that night. So he
Yeah.
was really trying to escalate.
Yeah.
Keep it going.
Nurse! Get the defibrillator. My heart's beating. I respect it. My heart's beating. Like, I know you're the professional, but I think my heart's still beating. Yeah.
Man.
So yeah, living life with one arm, and it's inconvenient and slow, but
Mm.
Still managed to finish your bowling animation.
still managed to finish my bowling animation, which is I actually wanted to talk to you guys about how do you be offensive and not be offensive? Like, how can you be all right? So if you're listening to this, you probably saw our slightly offensive bowling animations and video that we did. Well, we did a second one. Should be coming out in a week or so.
Yeah, I think so.
No, this
Before
this
this,
weekend.
oh, it's coming out
This-
before
oh,
this
sick.
podcast.
Oh, it's already out.
It's already
Okay,
out.
it's
Sorry,
already out.
everybody.
Go check it out.
So
So
spoil them.
how do you guys like? I actually find offensive humor like really funny,
Mhm.
which is like not a thing I broadcast at all. But like, yeah. How do you guys make something offensive and funny where it's not actually offensive? Like, what's the trick?
I don't know, man. My only ideas were either like very lightly offensive or like I was gonna get canceled, and I was like,
Yeah.
I don't want to come in hot like Jordan.
yeah. I don't do not recommend.
We were joking about it, but do you feel like there's actually a different scale for it in Canada? Like, is that just like, is the whole perspective of like, oh, Canadians are nice? Like,
I actually do. Yeah, I think people are more easily offended in Canada. Maybe.
Yeah.
I think.
Like, how dare you say that?
Yeah. Sorry.
because I feel like and then England, I feel like would be able to stand even more than the U.S. Or do you think
Yeah.
that perception's wrong?
It depends where you are in England,
Yeah.
doesn't it? Yeah. There's the posh sectors, and then there's the Northerners.
I
and
feel like
And the
yeah.
we like to
Scousers.
have fun. The
Yeah,
Scousers.
there's
Yeah,
some pretty
exactly.
dark British humor. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I certainly have a Northern sense of humor. I love like offensive stuff or stuff that makes me gasp.
Yeah.
And then I will follow it with a laugh, which
I
is
can't
what-
believe someone would make that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's watch it again. And yeah, I think the balance is interesting because that was something I was thinking about this in the second iteration since I missed the mark on the first one. I was like, you know what? Let me reassess. And it almost feels like it's all fine as long as it's in service of a rewarding punchline, you know? And I certainly dialed back the offensive on my animation this time, certainly in the context of everybody else's. I was shocked.
Yeah.
I was shocked.
Yeah,
I thought there was
going to
be
hard on this one.
I thought given the response of the last one, that there was going to be a dial back, but it was such a ramp up. And then I was immediately sitting there thinking, I should have done more. I should have gone
Well,
worse.
because like any project, it's like if you do it again, you have to push it. And the problem here is that pushing it is like in offensiveness.
Yeah.
So that you can't really like, it's hard because we were already really towing that line last time. And then this time everybody's like, I guess we go a little harder. And then it's like, Holocaust.
Yeah, there's like 2 Holocaust jokes. in this one.
Yeah. It's an interesting balancing act, you know. But yeah, I don't know. I'm of the mindset that everything should be joked about.
Yeah,
you know what I mean.
But it is a coping mechanism. Like,
yeah,
at the end of the day, it's the way that it's a way for us to deal with pain.
yeah, it's true.
I think like the key is making it so ridiculous that it's totally clear that you don't believe. Like, I think the point of picking something extremely offensive is that like clearly nobody is like, oh, the Holocaust was stupid, you know?
Yeah.
So, or, you know, whatever it is, you know, it's just like you have to be able to pick a subject where it's clear that, you know, I'm doing this just for the sake of like bowling pins are funny in this context because, you know, why else would you do this?
Well, that's the thing is like in an offensive animation, to me, what is funniest is making the person bowling feel as guilty as possible for enjoying just a very innocent pastime and making them not want to continue, which is the antithesis of what these things should be. They should like celebrate you and make you want to get back up there and try again. And the other side of that is where the humor is to me. And I think for me though, it's being aware that, you know, the application of that idea and your intention for doing it, your intention can certainly be removed when someone sees it out of context. And being aware that, hey, they can associate you to this work without giving the context the proper appreciation, which is what makes it funny in the first place. And instead makes it, wow, you think that's okay? From literally any walk of life, you can just say, you think that's okay? To me, that's not okay. And that everyone has a different
and certainly
checkpoint for that.
There, I'm sure in the comments we haven't seen them yet, but there will be people who are
like,
there
will be people who's like, I mean, there were in the last one, which is one of those things. It's like, look, I get it, but it's like it's really hard. Like it's hard to take someone seriously when they get offended at one of our bowling animations. It's like I know it's offensive. That's why that's the point.
Yeah.
It's like we can all do it. Like
it's the context.
Yeah.
Like we're going into this context like, okay, everybody watching, we're doing this specifically to be offensive. We don't actually support any of these things.
Yeah.
We're not making light of them.
And I think when you call it out to be like, this is specifically offensive, it like takes the power out of it too. Cause you're like, man, we're joking about this. Like it's clearly we're not doing this in a malicious way.
Yeah.
You know, like
Ren had the point of view, which I thought was interesting. It was like, you have to go one step further beyond just taking a tragedy and putting bowling pins and bowling balls in that tragedy.
Yeah.
It's like, that can be funny, but you're really just getting shock humor. And it's like when you can add one more joke to it somehow, then it's like, okay, now we're getting there.
Yeah. A threshold of creativity besides, replacing the Twin Towers with pins and a bowling ball playing.
And I felt like yours did that very well because
Thank
it was,
you.
You know, we kind of all got it, the subject matter, but when the spared thing comes up,
that was like
that's the joke. Is a pun. It's like the pun at the end of this super like
And what made me laugh about some of these is that they were so open ended. Like we know what the intention was to display.
Yeah.
But really, if you're getting upset about it, you filled in the blanks.
Yeah.
That's
your
implication.
mind.
That's
Yeah.
what
Implication is
Niko,
a
that's why
cop-out.
yours was my favorite. I was just like, like nothing offensive happened in yours, but it's like the content, like if you like, you're like, oh God, what happens the next day is offensive. Like,
I was worried that actually like people didn't find mine funny because there was no laughing until the final spared title hit the screen.
Oh, it was so
Because
good.
I think
it was
we
just
were-
quiet.
we-
I was
It was
like,
all
oh.
build up.
Everybody's waiting like, oh no,
For
what's
the-
gonna happen? And then it's like it's almost actually kind of like a happy ending. Like somebody was saved.
For one of them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it was so nice of that bowling pin's friend to tell him not to come to school tomorrow to remind him it was a national holiday.
Yeah, that's
why
what
he
it
was.
was.
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
I had actually assumed that there was a pop quiz that he found out about.
Oh, so it's like
That's where my mind went.
pretend you're 6, you
Yeah.
can stay home because you need to study more.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah. That's
Yeah.
where my mind went. So
I don't know if this came across or came through, but my intention with the one step pushing it further was like, I don't know if you guys remember, like there's a like the baby starts crying and that's what alerts the guy upstairs that they're down there, and just having this like like you already know up
Yeah.
front it's like, okay, this is like he's looking for them,
Yeah.
and you're pushing in on this guy with the candle. And then the like, oh, there's a baby, and it's like that's what for me pushed it
Yeah,
over the
no, that
line.
definitely like bumps it over there.
but yours too
Yeah.
didn't show anything. He
It's
could have
true.
missed. He could have been aiming at a rat
Yeah.
that was
Yeah.
attacking the family.
I think Austin made
You
a very
know?
good point. He was like shooting a hole in the ground
That's
so that
They
they
were
could
stuck in
escape.
the
They
basement.
were
Yeah.
stuck
I
in the
love
basement.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's funny because yours is more or less a direct like reflection of the Inglorious Bastards opening scene.
Yeah, no,
Yeah,
absolutely.
totally.
And I
It's
was
like-
literally I was looking at that when I was making the cabin.
Yeah.
Like
And it's like
seeing,
if people get
oh,
offended with you doing that, like, do you get offended with Quentin Tarantino doing
Mhm.
it?
Yeah.
They're both
Yeah.
in services of entertainment.
Mhm.
You know, he's not making a dramatic documentary. It's literally just a cool character introduction for Hans Zelanda. You know,
Yeah.
it's like
yeah.
it's still using World War II and the Holocaust to tell to tell a story and make entertainment and stuff.
did you guys have
So I'm just saying you're on the level of Quentin Tarantino.
yeah, of course.
Dean and Quentin on the Mount Rushmore.
Did you guys have like a runner-up idea that you wanted to do that
Yeah.
You did.
I wouldn't. I just like I would be canceled for it. I think.
Oh, you think it's that
man.
No,
bad?
I maybe in Canada I'd be canceled.
Oh, gotcha. Is it Canadian themed?
Well, yeah. Okay. So someone had mentioned there's the whole. Oh god, it's so bad. There's.
Should we wait?
Oh,
Should we?
Should we save
Should
it?
we?
I think
Maybe-
I
you
think
know, I
I'm
feel
gonna
like-
save it. I think I'm gonna
Yeah,
save it because I
I
I
might.
feel like
we'll
the
save
offensive
it.
concepts you can only deliver them in bowling animation
Yeah.
form.
Yeah.
Right,
So
if
when
I
you use
just-
like artificial maple syrup or something, it's like
That's exactly it. Yeah.
Okay, then if you guys want to see another bowling video, we'll
Yeah.
be able to bring those
Yeah.
to bear.
Yeah.
Yeah. I just love that Ren went after you two.
Yeah.
It made me laugh because literally the most shocking parts of his were just a combination of your shocking
Yeah,
parts.
it's hilarious.
Yeah.
He
I'm
must
so
have been
glad.
thinking, oh no. are
Because we
you
had the same
serious?"
joke. Also, like we both had the same thing, which is halfway through our animations, we both went, "Oh wait, that's not what a spare is. A spare's not when one is left over.
Yes.
It's not a
That's
spare
so
at all.
true.
Like, and I was like, screw it, I'm gonna use it anyways. And Ren did the exact same
Yeah.
thing.
That's great.
Honestly, Ren's was also one of my favorites because his was so. If it had just been like the
Which-
shower heads come
which it
down and all the
was.
pins fall down,
Which
it was, that would have been like Ren. That's not dude. But because this janky Liam Neeson comes running out and
Jacked arms.
kicks
Go,
the
go,
bowling,
go.
and it makes no sense because he's also a bowling ball. But I thought that was fun. And wacky sound effects and stuff.
And again, yeah, they all survive, so that's not a spare. Yeah, it's totally true.
I didn't realize
Yeah.
the jankiness. I mean, Sam said this, but the jankiness actually is most of the comedy. Like
Mhm.
one of Rent's from last time, I think the JFK one went
Mhm.
super viral. And at the end, it ends with like this really janky animation of it putting its thumb up and it like
broken
this
hand.
broken smile and stuff. And I think that's what people sort of remember about those bowling animations is the janky render style. And
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
speaking of, yours look very nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
well, then
That is a
but
compliment.
I wish I
in the context of.
I wish I had rolled it back because I was like, oh, I'm learning 3D. Like, I'm going to put all my freaking shaders on and stuff. But it would have been much better served by just being super janky.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's one thing I have trouble with too. Is like I do janky, but for some reason I want to pay attention to the animation too much, which is
Your
what I did
animation's
here.
really
It's like,
good.
Yeah.
thank you,
Yeah.
No, I think you actually nailed the aesthetic, though, because you're using a lot of those as reference. Like the
arm guy, the
arm
ball,
guy, yeah.
the
is
greasy legs and arms,
is
like
straight out of those old animations.
yeah.
And I feel like with the VHS filter and stuff, you really nail
But
it.
it's like when they're hitting the kid, when they're beating the kid to death at the end.
His little jiggle.
Yeah, his little jiggle death scene. Like, I spent too much time, like, really hand animating the motion of these wrenches and bats on the back to make sure that they perfectly aligned with the back. Stuff that no one would care about. If it's clipping, like, who cares? It's still funny. But yeah, I cared about that, and I don't know why. So I think if we do it again, I'm gonna really try to dial back.
Yeah, I went the complete opposite. I was like, I'm not allowed to adjust anything.
Yeah,
so I was like, if it's broken, it's in. Like,
no, and I thought that was the funniest part.
Yeah,
was like the guy's just kind of wandering around and then just slips off the roof.
And I was checking the different like compilations of old bowling animations, and there's like there you can see like an evolving, like, because the earlier ones are super janky, and then there's more modern ones that I'm like, oh, that's actually doesn't look too bad. They have shadows and reflections and stuff. I was like, I'm gonna go full jank on this.
Dude, I love the blocky shadows, like the low sampled shadow map.
That was great. How'd you go about doing that? Was that all in Blender?
Just Blender EV, just cranking everything to lowest possible.
It can go that low. I didn't know it could go that low. That's impressive.
Yeah, it was pretty fun.
Did you guys have that moment? Well, I guess Dean didn't because he did everything with nice rendering quality. But do you have a moment of that question was like, do I do shadows or not?
Yeah.
My debate was on lighting. I got to the point of lighting, and I was like, okay, maybe I just do a couple point lights, and I rendered like a still frame of it with no lights, and that's basically what the final was. I was like, okay, no lights, no shadows. We're sending it out, and it actually worked pretty well. Yeah, considering
the only reason I lit it was because the basement had to be dark,
right?
And there had to be the candle to light the pins. So I was like, I can't do it just like super flat. That was the only reason.
Yeah.
Because you were on a little getaway when you did yours, right?
Yeah, no, we went up to San Francisco, but I heard on the Friday, I heard Nick mention like, hey, let's do bowling next week.
Yeah.
And I knew I'd be gone on Monday when you guys doing the kickoff. And I knew I had to edit videos anyway, so I wouldn't have had time. So we'd go out, hang out all day, get back at night, and Ari would like go to sleep, and I'd be like, all right.
What do you say if she wakes up and sees you working on that?
Well, you're like literally I don't know how you guys felt. She was a great barometer of like, I'm not pushing this too far. Which, although you said your girlfriend last time gave you the like signed off on it.
It wasn't a sign off. It was like a first why. Why did you do this? Because that's the thing. When you get insulated with an idea, your exposure to it becomes less offensive. The more you're exposed to it, it becomes less and less offensive. You become desensitized to that idea. And so, on the last iteration, I continued to add. I was like, okay, but then I got used to that, and I continued to add and continue to add and continue to add. And the 1 day, duration that we were given for this one was great for that because I didn't keep looking at it and going, it's not as bad as I remember. Like, let's make it a little worse.
Yeah, make it worse.
Right?
Yeah. Becoming desensitized to your own work.
Desensitized 100%. So when I brought it in, I worked from home on that. And I was completely insulated with this idea, and I brought it in, and I think I showed it to you or Griffin first, and the reaction was not what I expected. It was like,
yeah, no, I think it was me. And I was like, what are you doing? It was like shouting.
Yeah.
I thought it was hilarious.
Like in the context, it's funny, but yeah, it's I was completely desensitized to the idea. And so my girlfriend was the barometer afterwards. Right. I didn't show it to her until after everything. Oh. And then she's like, I get it, but maybe not the best call. Yeah. And I was like, oh, okay.
Having seen it now, do you think it was like more offensive than some of the ones we did the second round though?
Like, I don't know.
I think it would have had the same problem as Ren's first draft.
Yeah.
Where it's just kind of violent, and you're like,
yeah,
and then it's like
a bit
bowling.
Raw. Yeah,
it's just there's not much payoff on that one.
Yeah, there is, but I don't know that I was great at crafting the joke of it, like because anyway, bowl again, right? So it's like anyway, it's one of those things where you become so insulated and like immune to your own offensive thing.
I'm realizing I think my favorite part of it is if it's super offensive, like you're saying, and the person gets desensitized, is like watching their reaction to seeing other people be like, what are you doing?
Sam shocked me on this one. And Sam's like so layered. Like there's so many different reveals. I'm like, what?
And Sam afterwards like, yeah. And we're like, Sam, you can't do that. And he's like, oh, no, it's fine.
And then the way, he's talking about, it's a metaphor and this, that, and the other. And I was like, oh, was the goat a metaphor? And he's like, oh, yeah, no. So funny.
I'm not even
man.
sure Sam's ending is going to make it into the actual.
Oh, you may
video.
need to cut that.
Yeah, but Sam's was my favorite one.
No,
Yeah.
mine too,
It was
absolutely.
so funny. It was so
Absolutely.
layered.
Why did he
Like,
start? Wasn't he the first one to go?
Yeah.
Oh
No,
man.
wait,
man.
was Fenner
You-
the first one to go?
Oh,
yeah,
you
was it?
no, you
Yeah.
went first. Yeah, Sam
Sam
went
was
second.
second.
Sam was
Yeah.
like,
He just
Sam.
couldn't. He
And I-
couldn't sit on it any longer. He's
I
like,
agree. I don't understand how he was able to craft such a long
Yeah, it had like particle sims. Like it's animated really nicely.
and he had like the guy going like this and the plane takes off. I was like, how did he do this?
yeah, full rigid body parts. Like
Yeah.
yeah, it's very impressive.
Yeah.
I was a big fan of that one.
He's been working on it for years. And
Yeah, it's finally relevant. Luke pulls it out. There you go.
Yeah.
It's so fun though. I love those kinds of challenges.
I will say that you earned my respect when you crossed the line the first time we did this.
You know,
It's
someone
like
had to do
knowing
it.
that you had it in you. I was like, all right.
Yeah,
All right.
yeah. I
Don't mess with
wanted
this
to
guy.
I wanted to tease what's deep down.
oh no.
no, not that. No, hold on a second. Wait a minute. No, yeah. It was again. I didn't do it on purpose. I was just immune to my own, thing. But yeah. No, it's nice that you have my back there. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I'm not sure how much of your back I had because we still cut it from the video.
It's the right call. I regret nothing about it. I think it was the right call. Everyone made the right calls, except for maybe when I was making it. That was
Yeah.
maybe the one wrong call. But here we are.
I feel
We're all
like
still alive.
if we did a third one, we'd all nail it that time. Because I feel like we kind of have pushed both sides of like feeling out the space of it.
Yeah.
And then I feel like everybody would knock it out of the park
Yeah.
the third time.
It's funny on this one. I was even on the fence about killing the kid. Talk about getting weak, right? No, but the superhero lands. I mean, if you haven't seen it yet, there's spoilers all over this thing, I think. So go watch it. But I wanted to do like kind of a twist, right? So the idea of not knowing what you gutter balled your first one, and then you think this second ball is coming in to save your turn, and just get like its brains blown out from behind it, drops to the ground, and then they beat the kid to death too. It's like this devastating thing that has happened.
Double gutter ball.
Yeah, and I was like, maybe they're all beating the superhero, but he's already had his head blown off.
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah, you got to kill the kid because, don't take that
You
out of
gotta do it.
context.
You gotta kill the kid.
Yeah, because both your balls failed miserably. So yeah, I liked the idea of that one, but it certainly was less offensive, I think.
It's the
It's
only
more
one
just-
where the pins win. They get the
Yeah.
upper hand.
It's true.
which
It's true.
is-
It's
It's
true.
very
Yeah.
Yeah.
empowering, inspiring.
That's what I wanted to bring.
Yeah.
Yeah. Stories from the other side.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's so fun though.
So, changing topics from something nice and uplifting here.
Mm.
I would argue that. Well, correct me if I'm wrong, but did the two of you experience your first ever viral video?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. It
That was
uh,
crazy.
Yeah. Adam West Batman. It was a very cool moment coming in Monday morning. and
Yeah.
Seeing Matt Reeves had reposted it and stuff. And
That was nuts to me.
yeah.
Yeah.
Because
Now-
you do forget you forget the reach, right?
Yeah.
It honestly feels like you're just making stuff with friends.
Yeah.
And I constantly forget the people outside of the office see it. It's so funny. I just forget. And then yeah, stuff like this happens where the director of the Batman sees it and likes it. And we were talking the other day, like Adam West's family
Yeah.
saw it
That was the
and
coolest
reposted
thing
it
for
and
me.
liked it. And like that's the coolest feeling in the world. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? That's a direct impact. And yeah, when we were talking about the idea, it's fun. It's a fun concept, certainly, but you never expect it to have legs like that. You
Yeah.
know? And for being Fenner's first video since he came full time, I'm like, what a start, man.
That was really
He
cool.
just really peeked out the gate.
It's
and we're
always
just
downhill
like I said,
from
all
here.
downhill
from here, yeah.
rolling on down the hill
We were
now.
looking for that dopamine hit, never
Yeah.
finding it.
Yeah.
Chasing the Batman dragon.
Yeah, it's legit.
But I feel like in context of just talking about like not quite nailing this, concept of offensive, like you guys nailed putting him in there and having it be, we're making fun of it, but also it ends on this note of, no, this is actually pretty badass and cool.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And then, the in loving memory thing at the end, the fact that his family saw it and was like, this is respectful of him,
Yeah.
while still being super funny and goofy.
Right. Yeah. I didn't
is,
want it to feel like we were making fun of anybody. Certainly. That was not the intention. And Matt did an awesome job with the edit to where it
Yeah.
was a perfect balance of funny and then just leads into just really badass stuff, you know, with the Batmobile and the copter.
When
and
Matt showed us the edit, once he got the like to the Batmobile soundbite in there, I was like, this is cool. Like, this is awesome.
Yeah.
It does hit that. It hits a note where like, this is actually really cool, and I would really enjoy a superhero movie like this. And I feel like the trick would be you have to have your superhero movie be kind of gritty. You have to have it be like real and grounded. You have to have all your villains be like real villains, but then like Batman needs to be aware that he has plot armor, so he doesn't give a fuck.
Yeah.
And like that once you flip that switch where Batman's just like, I'm gonna do whatever the heck I want because I'm Batman. Come on, Robin, let's go save the day. And it's like, and then they like start murdering these villains. Like it gets really intriguing and fun. I mean, it's a little bit of like the Deadpool.
Yeah, I was gonna say a little Deadpool there, but
One Punch Man.
Yeah, One Punch Man also.
In a way, there's an argument that in that trailer, Batman is the psychopath.
Yeah,
because he's there, he's frying this guy, like smoke is coming out of his eyes. He's getting cooked from the inside out. And it cuts around, he's just going la 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 la. It's just like frying this guy to death. It is a funny like juxtaposition between the two.
Although
things.
that does, I think the new. Have you guys all seen the new Batman?
No.
Okay.
Yeah.
But you can spoil it. I don't care.
Oh, okay. Well, it does come through, like sort of that he is. It's the first Batman movie where Bruce Wayne is a little unhinged and he's not really sure what he's doing. He's kind of just going out, reliving this trauma of his parents dying. You know, there's I've seen it like 3 times now, so I'm just like freaking dying to talk. But they go back to the Batcave and you see Bruce Wayne here, and like he's kind of like shaking and his eyes are
turns
red.
down the Nirvana.
Yeah, he's listening to Nirvana. It's
that seemed to me the fact that he's actually listening to it. You're like, oh, that's hilarious.
Yeah, and he's got the eye pain. It's like running down his
angsty.
face.
I liked his like narration of like his journaling being like he doesn't know what he's doing, and he's like
which
I'm
is
just out all night. I'd like
straight out of I don't know if you guys have read the Frank Miller comics that he did of Batman Year One.
Yeah,
that's straight out of Batman Year One. It's like Bruce Wayne, he's just wandering around the city being like, and he calls criminals the element, like the and he's like he's in a war. He's like going out every night, like it's like he's a soldier, and it's I feel like the new movie really captured that. But sorry, that's like
your understanding, like your knowledge when it comes to these things blows me away.
Oh, dude, this scene in the crew
it's like that's all legit on the spot. Like, he just has the information.
Drop all that DC comics.
I think I said this on another podcast, but I sometimes wish that when I was a kid, I had put my points into like an instrument or something else, but it was just like DC comics and Star Wars. It was like that's so. But yeah, I think it's funny with the 60s Batman because I mean, clearly we're goofing around in the crew video. We know the original series was a comedy.
Yeah,
like it was supposed to be goofy, but which is funny because I saw a lot of comments of people saying that, well, what about George Clooney? You know,
the famous nipple Batman.
Yeah, nipple Batman. Yeah. But I feel like people also don't get that movie is a remake of the Adam West series.
I didn't get that when I was young. I just thought it was another superhero movie.
Wow. Yeah. I didn't actually know that until right now.
Yeah.
Huh.
I will say of all the Batman movies that came out, the second Tim Burton Batman nailed the aesthetic for me more than any other Batman has. One with Danny DeVito as Penguin.
Yeah. Yes.
Like, arguably not as strong of a movie as some of the other Batman movies, but like that vibe is just like.
Yeah, weird, like carny kind of almost like
like you feel like the city was a character.
It's like in a way it hits that comic book vibe without like being a modern comic book movie,
right?
It's like Gotham City. It's not New York City. It's Gotham City.
I felt like the new one gets a bit of that back. Like you kind of Gotham has like its own personality and stuff a little bit, but it's definitely still modern. But
yeah, it's definitely not like because I feel like the Nolan films were. This is Chicago.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's New York City.
It was just Chicago.
Except for the first one, Batman Begins. There is, I think it's the Warrens, like that area where Scarecrow releases all the toxic fumes and stuff. That feels. I know Nolan was very inspired by Blade Runner, and that area was all designed. It wasn't like a real area of a city, and that felt very. Like this is a unique space, but yeah, I feel like the new movie. Really is like Gotham is a character in this film. You know, it's a place where these characters, it's a world, you know, and there's
it's
like
always
locations.
raining.
Yeah, always raining. Like people are like the first scene where he's like beating up those guys, the rain is like they're all soaked.
Yeah.
But that kind of it's a little heightened. But
is it the Michael Keaton one with the no neck bat suit?
That one and the George Clooney one.
Yeah.
George Clooney also has no neck.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah. And they look up like,
it's so wildly upsetting to me seeing that.
Yeah.
I watched a smash cut of just, I think it was the Michael Keaton one, where it's just a collection of him turning.
So
it's like 2.5 minutes of him just turning, and he just can't do it without his shoulders, and it's so weird. Like, why did they design it like that?
He's coming, like Keaton's coming back for the new Flash movie, right?
Yeah.
Do you think he'll be able to move his neck in that, or are they going to keep?
No, they'll keep it.
That's
Because
awesome.
the thing is, in the movie, they acknowledge it's a rubber bat suit. Because remember, there's a scene where he rips off the cowl, and it's like he's just ripping off a rubber cowl, and he has a whole room of costumes. So you think like, every night when he takes off his costume, does he just rip it apart? He has a giant room of Batman costumes. But yeah, it's funny because they tried to solve that problem in Dark Knight because it is actually a plot point where he is like, I can't move in this suit, the suit from Batman Begins. And Lucius makes him the new suit, which is kind of the classic suit. It has like the big bulbous head.
Yeah.
I always thought it looked a little wacky, It looked a little like hockey pads, that line.
I'm not wearing hockey pads.
But I think there's a really cool solution with the new one because, superheroes silhouette is so important, like the graphic nature of it. And the new film, there's no neck piece that limits his motion, but there's a sort of collar that goes up high.
So you still get the silhouette.
You get the silhouette of the straight down head to the shoulders, but his neck is free inside of it. And I was like, oh, that's
the
really
Robert
creative.
Pattinson silhouette's super similar to the Adam West one as well, like in the cowl and everything, and it even has a little nose flap. Like it's really cool.
Yeah, that was also interesting because a lot of the cowls they'll do like it'll be very gothically designed to look like a demon, and this one it's almost like he had bought this cowl somewhere and then put ears on it. Like it was just sort of a very simple thing.
I do feel like a lot of the Batman films have just really been trying to capture the magic of the animated series, which nailed Batman perfectly.
Yeah,
I mean that defined Batman for me.
You can't nail it harder than that.
Yeah,
it's the perfect balance of the comics. Like every version of Batman is kind of in there a little bit because he's a superhero. He's not some messed up psychotic guy, which is like the Frank Miller version, but they still, I think there's a famous thing like the first few seasons, they, instead of drawing on white paper or they drew on black paper.
Wow.
And so basically bringing out the light, but like the idea is that it's always dark.
Awesome.
Wow. Yeah.
That's cool.
And also like drawing Batman so you can't see his feet. So he glides like a ghost most of the time. You just see his cape kind of slide along the ground.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'd love it if they threw him on a furniture dolly in the live action. Just dragged him around with a rope.
Robert Pattinson
He's on a one wheel or a hoverboard.
Actually, a bat one wheel would be so sick. Like if it was like decked out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that was one thing I loved about the new movie is that all his gadgets were like practical. Like instead of having the bat wings, he just had a squirrel suit. And he eats shit.
No, that was great. And he there's the shot of him getting up to jump off with the squirrel suit, and he looks down. He's like,
like him hesitating.
It's
and
not
being
like because there's the scene in Dark Knight where he does the glider for the first time. And Christian Bale's Batman is very stoic. He knows what he's doing. He's like, I've committed to this mission of saving Gotham. But this version of Batman is like, I guess I'm gonna jump off this building now. It was
that whole scene is so good. He's running through the police station and he just looks like he has no idea what he's doing, like where he's going.
Scene was so good, dude.
Yeah, Matt Reeves was talking about how it's for this Batman, he's just barely getting out of every situation, which is so much more exciting.
And his use of extras there, like especially in the police station, like so good. Like it was almost like they were an avalanche. Wherever he was running, whatever door he was going through, it was just and all these bodies, like so many extra bodies, and it made it so intense that like every step you take, that is now shut behind you.
Yeah.
And it's like this avalanche that's following you up the stairs to where you only have one way out as the avalanche like crescendos over the side of the building and he jumps. Like that was one of my favorite scenes from the whole film.
Yeah.
Jan was talking about how the one element that we've lost in modern Batman films, though, is the detective part of Batman.
Yeah,
Supposed to be the best
he
detective.
brings,
Yeah.
he brings it
Newest one
back.
has that.
This one is
Oh,
like,
right, you haven't seen it. Yeah,
I
that's
haven't
right.
seen
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
This one is like honestly, it feels like a Fincher, David Fincher, like
Yeah.
7 or, Zodiac.
Mm.
I mean, the Riddler's basically a serial killer, you
Yeah.
know, and he leaves notes for Batman. And so and there's ciphers and like,
Mhm.
Yeah.
most of it is him figuring out
I
this
love that he's
mystery.
also like an influencer.
Oh, yeah.
That's like my
Yeah,
favorite
yeah.
scene.
Yeah.
When it's the phone, he's like, "What's up, guys?
Yeah.
It's me, the Riddler." You're like,
Yeah.
"What is
Throw some
happening?"
W's in the chat. Like,
Yeah, seriously, he's like
It's-
that. Like,
On it, it's
it's very disturbing.
it's
like,
truly disturbing
Yeah.
because it was, I think, the most realistic Batman villain in terms of he's just a nihilistic sort of like wants to get revenge on everyone.
Yeah.
And there's been a lot of stuff with the the January 6th thing, and they probably started making this movie way before that happened, obviously.
Yeah.
And it was just there's just certain threads in there where you're like, oh, it's kind of QAnon stuff.
that's
and-
that's what it was like hitting on. It was like him being like this like QAnon kind of, and you're like, oh, this is like kind of hitting close to home a little bit. Like, you're like, I know this is a Batman movie, but this is kind of dark. Like,
yeah.
yeah,
No, and it was still PG-13, but it definitely felt like by far the darkest
Mhm.
yeah.
Batman movie.
and the friggin' makeup on the Penguin.
Oh, so good.
I had no idea who played that role. I thought that was just a guy. I didn't think twice. I don't know if you've seen any
Colin
of the
Farrell,
images.
right?
Colin Farrell,
Yeah.
yeah. I don't know if you've seen any images of the makeup.
I have,
But it's
he's
like-
unrecognizable.
Completely. I remember I was sitting there, phenomenal performance as the Penguin. And I remember like leaning over to my girlfriend. I was like, who is that guy? He's really good.
Yeah.
Like he has a future in this, you know what I mean? They had me fooled.
I love the
100%.
little scene where his like ankles are handcuffed and he does a little penguin waddle.
Yeah.
And I was
Oh,
just
yeah,
like,
yeah,
I was like,
yeah.
nice. Like,
Yeah, there were much more of those little notes in it where I felt like the Nolan films were like, it's Batman and that's it.
Yeah.
He's in a crime movie. Everything else is real. There's a guy in a bat suit and that's it. But I felt like this movie that was a lot more respectful of the source material,
yeah.
where it was like, it would give you little moments like that where it's like, yeah, he's a penguin or like, you know,
Yeah.
stuff like that, which I
What-
thought was cool.
They just announced the sequel officially at CinemaCon
Oh, yeah.
just this week.
yeah.
Like, what do you guys think that's going to be like, guys? Because I think
Joker, right?
it's Joker,
Joker, yeah.
and then
pops
I
up.
think Mr. Freeze as well.
Mr. Freeze would be really cool. I feel like they have, going back to the animated series, that's one of the best episodes of the animated series is I'm trying to remember the title.
One of
It's like-
Mr. Freeze like trying to save his wife or whatever.
Yeah,
explaining
and
the
it-
story about how he lost her.
They were it was the first time the animated series was the first time the Mr. Freeze had been done as like a what do you say, sympathetic villain.
Mm.
Right.
Mhm.
Because otherwise he's crazy scientist with a
Yeah.
freeze gun. But in the animated series, the idea is that they did this in the Schumacher film, I think, is his wife has this like rare disease.
Mhm.
And so he basically has her in like cryo freeze and is trying to save her. And then basically an accident, it's like a Spider-Man villain. It's an accident happens. And then he's like, now I basically have to rob places to be able to find this cure, like
Mhm.
get enough money to find this cure. And I feel like they could do a cool version of it. I don't know that this version of Batman is heightened enough to have like a freeze gun though.
Right.
Yeah,
know
but
what
I
I mean?
wonder if he just goes like, well, the whole thing with like the city being flooded now as well, and like I wonder
Yeah.
if they just go hard. He's got like a liquid nitrogen kind of like gun or something,
Yeah.
and like I don't know.
Because that's also an interesting element is that, well, I guess spoilers, the city's
Whatever.
flooded now. And there's a lot of storylines in the comics where I think this is what they're going to do in the next film is basically Gotham. I think it's called Batman No Man Land. It's like Gotham declares a state of emergency because of, in the comics, it's earthquakes. I think now they'll do the flood. But basically, nobody can get into the city. And so the villains carve out little areas of the city as their turf,
Oh, that's cool. Yeah.
and you even see it at the end. The Penguin is kind of like taking over his spot.
Yeah.
I feel like the Joker will break out because we see the Joker at the end.
Yeah.
I think, I don't know if you guys heard of the Court of Owls. There's like a newer storyline that was written by this guy Scott Snyder and artist Greg Capullo, and it was the first like new Batman story where they introduced new mythos where everybody was like, "Oh, this is so cool." It's basically like a secret society that of Gotham elite that they all wear these like owl masks, and basically it's been a while since I read it, but they basically resurrect. They're like zombie ninjas, basically, that these, because owls hunt bats. And so the idea is that Batman thinks he knows this city inside out. This is his city, but there's actually some deeper, darker underbelly. And
That's awesome.
That's like in Game of Thrones with the golden mask peeps.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
the secret society. That's cool. I like that.
Man, I love that, man.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Did you guys ever see that one episode from the animated series where it starts off with Batwoman dying?
I don't know.
Oh, with Batgirl. Yeah, Batgirl falls off the building.
Yeah, she dies, and then the Commissioner Gordon sends all the police to like hunt down Batman and find the cave and everything.
Yeah.
Like Nighthawk, like gets shot down, and
yeah. It's that.
The twist is that it's the Mad Hatter, I think, working with Scarecrow.
Yeah.
Not tapping into Batman and making him having a nightmare, but making Batgirl have a nightmare where she realizes that she's taking these risks with her life, but she's doing it secretly. And she could end up harming her family around her with them losing her as she does this dangerous stuff. And she's never told them the truth about what she does. And then she has like a heart to heart with her dad, Commissioner Gordon. He's like, look, you can do whatever you need to do. You're my daughter. I trust you, etc. And it's like, it's a really wholesome message, but it starts off literally with like main characters dying. And you're just like, ah, it's such a good episode for an animated series.
And like, it's just so cool watching, because Gordon and Batman, like especially in the new film, it's like you see how tight knit those guys are, and the whole episode is Gordon is hunting down Batman to arrest him, and he knows he's Bruce Wayne. So like, there's no hiding. Like the Batcave, they kick in the door.
That's
and
awesome.
they're like getting just out on like the Bat boat or something.
Yeah.
And yeah, no, that's like one of my favorite episodes. And that's what's cool in the comics. And I think they're doing more in the movies now. Is in the comics, they call them Elseworld stories, where they just say, here are the characters, here's your set of toys, do whatever you want.
Yeah, do that to get Joaquin Phoenix's Joker into the new Batman,
Yeah, wait,
because they're technically different.
Time?
Like Joaquin Phoenix, his Joker,
yeah,
and the Robert Pattinson Batman, they're at different times.
Yeah,
but like say, screw it, put them in the same movie.
Yeah, they could do that. Well, so they do set up a new Joker,
Joker.
Kind of box himself in there,
which I wasn't 100% on board with. I was hoping it would be Joaquin Phoenix Joker, because that would be. I felt like they would have fit in the same universe. Those two.
Yeah,
almost.
they would have.
Yeah.
I guess like the whole Thomas Wayne stuff is very core to this movie, and it's very different than how they did it in Joker.
Yeah,
that's true.
And also the ages would be different. Batman, like that movie takes place in like the 70s, I think.
Yeah,
I hope it just stays its own thing, because this is kind of what I was talking about. Is
it's like a one shot kind of thing.
Yeah, they
right?
just tell like, here's a Joker story, and there's no continuity. Like we're so, with Marvel, I think one of the problems with the Marvel movies is that they're so connected.
Yeah.
It's like it gives you, what was I watching? Like there was some Marvel movie I went to see recently, and I'm like, I realized I'm only sitting here to see who shows up. Like this movie is really, and this new Doctor Strange movie, I'm going to go in there and be like, all right, who's going to show up?
Yeah.
And that's like that is all your excitement of it comes like, oh, there's Deadpool,
like what multiverse can we jump into?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And
it's so crazy too, because the animated series, What If, you were like, oh, okay, cool, finally they're doing something that's like stand, and then it's like, no, that's now tying into the actual like films and stuff.
Yeah,
no, like what? They didn't even like what?
No, that's
it's just If now.
Yeah, it's just like If.
No, literally, like the show, the premise was each episode is a one shot. What if this happened, and then did they
do the zombies one in What If?
They did, yeah.
No,
like the actual Marvel zombies, where like the Avengers are zombies.
Yeah,
kind of.
There's like basically they set it up. There's like a from the microverse, which is where Ant-Man, like he can shrink down to the microverse. There's this quantum like zombie virus, and it infects everybody. And it's a cool episode.
Yeah.
But what they do at the end of the series, I guess spoilers for everybody, is they take characters from each episode and they're like, oh, this all exists in the multiverse, and then they bring them together and then they do something. And now I think in the new Doctor Strange movie, the Doctor Strange from that episode will be in the new movie.
Yeah,
and so
on the poster you can see Captain Britain's shield and stuff, and like
on
the poster for Multiverse of Madness.
Oh wow!
So
really?
it's like they're gonna bring in full on characters. Like that aren't even Doctor Strange, and you're like, oh, what? Like,
Which
How'd you even write
part
that?
of me is like, because it's like I watched this thing, and I think that's the key to the Marvel thing is for the fans is like
yeah,
I've invested in this, and now it gets to pay off. Where I guess essentially it's just you get to be like, I saw it first.
I mean, I'd watch it on Disney
about it
Plus
first.
in a heartbeat, but I probably won't go to the theater for it.
Oh, for
They are playing the
Multiverse of
Avatar 2 trailer at the beginning.
Madness. Oh no way!
Yeah.
The Way of Water, I think, is what it's
Yeah.
called.
yeah.
When is that coming
Someone's
out?
like, get somebody that looks at you the way James Cameron looks at a glass of water.
It looks very cool from the snippets I've seen. of it.
Didn't they do like?
Oh.
Wait, you've seen snippets?
Tease.
Nah, I don't know.
Well, there was that video.
Oh my
gosh.
gosh.
Yeah.
I've seen nothing.
Yeah, there you go.
He's just saying it looks cool.
Yeah.
It looks neat.
Yeah.
I'm sure we can all safely say it looks cool.
yeah.
Yeah.
The papyrus font looks great.
Yes. What a bold
They
choice.
got to bring it back.
I hope so. I hope it's
If they
like
don't.
amped up papyrus. Like they do like
Is
3D word art papyrus.
You seen that SNL skit, right? It's like, how
So
can somebody
good.
Uh,
get away with this?
Yeah.
Just using papyrus for a movie logo.
for the biggest movie ever.
Yeah.
Is like the whole original cast is like Sam,
lot of them, yeah.
Sam Worthington. in it?
Jake Sully.
Sigourney Weaver.
What has Sam Worthington done
I don't
since
know.
that
Did
first
they ever
Avatar,
Avatar
like
movie?
the gods of
Oh, yeah,
Egypt
Clash of
or
Titans.
Clash
Oh.
of Titans or something.
Which actually, that movie's not that bad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, coming back from Vegas, Nick was like, we were listening to a podcast, a hardcore history podcast, and it was talking about this this battle that happened between like Mark Antony and like Octavius in like the Mediterranean. He's like, you know, no one ever saw Ben-Hur, like the 2016 version. It just kind of flew under the radar. But he's like, there's this one boat fight scene that's really good. And we pulled it up, and it's actually really cool. It's, you know, they did a lot of ship ramming back then when they're fighting.
Awesome.
And so they have this whole scene, but it stays in under the boat with the slaves the whole time. So it's them just like being told like,
sick.
roll faster, you're gonna die. And they roll really fast and like they hit something and he's like, great. And like he's looking at this little hole in the side, just trying to see what's happening. And you see some stuff in the ships. And they at one point they get rammed, and just it's always inside the boat, including like when they get rammed and when it sinks. And it's just like
so
that's cool.
awesome. I love
Yeah.
when like a director does a choice like that where you're like, we're not going to show you,
Yeah.
but like you're going to know what's happening.
it's like people
Yes.
board the ship, but they're on the deck, so you only see like blood and like oil fall
that's
down through the
so
thing.
good. Like
Yeah.
I feel like that is what makes a big VFX film. That's what the only thing that can bring you into it is like seeing it from the
Yeah.
perspective of the characters. I think John Favreau talked about it on The Mandalorian. He's like, you know, we now have the ability to do anything. It's very important that every shot is shot with a quote real camera.
Yeah.
Like, is this a helicopter? Is this, you know, if they're out in the ocean, is it another ship that's filming? Like, you can't. I think the second Pacific Rim movie was super guilty of
Yeah.
this. It's just like
Yeah.
cameras moving freely,
Mhm.
and now scale doesn't mean anything, you know.
yeah, if you don't have that restraint, it takes away from it. Like it's like you can do too much of a good thing, you know, where you're like, we can put the camera anywhere, and you're like, yeah, but we
But
don't
should
want
you?
it. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, should you?
Yeah.
So with great power comes great responsibility.
Yeah. I think the big struggle too with like being able to do mega VFX now for films is like it's really not about your spectacle, it's about your hype. Like
Yeah.
what's the most hype scene you can make, and then what's the coolest hype twist? It's like a good WWE match. Like
Yes.
yeah, cool, you can do a big flip, but what's the hypest thing that happens? The Undertaker just came out on his motorcycle.
Yeah.
You know, it's like,
Hell yeah,
you
brother.
need that shit to be going on.
And that's and again back to Marvel, it's like that's what they do really well.
Yeah.
Is like
Yeah.
Captain America gets the hammer.
That was like
Yeah.
3
Yeah.
years ago this week or something.
When that movie
that,
came out.
That moment.
he got the
yeah,
hammer.
Him getting the hammer.
Do you
that
ever-
was,
Yeah.
that
Do
was
you
one
remember
of
the
the
snippet
coolest.
from when James Young was here, where he talked about that one scene when they're all like having a little like sit down, they're taking turns trying to lift the hammer,
Yeah.
and like Captain America moves it a little
Nudges
bit.
it, yeah.
And he's like, he actually was able to lift it, but he purposely stopped
Yeah.
lifting it to not embarrass Thor. It's like that's such a
'Cause
nice,
he's so humble. Like,
yeah,
he's-
it's such a good character moment that like whooshed over my head. I thought it was heavy. He just moved it a little bit. I didn't realize like, oh, he just immediately was able to pick it up and just stops himself. So
Yeah.
like he doesn't embarrass
the
him.
payoff of that, like that moment in
Yeah.
the theater. That's one of the coolest moments
Yeah.
I've experienced in the theater, and like everyone just losing it, and
And
I'm
the
like,
score, it's like dun,
Dude,
dun,
it
dun,
hits so
dun.
hard. Yeah.
Yeah, it's because, and that's, I mean, I don't, even though I'm saying like, you know, Marvel thing is kind of formulaic, whatever, like I don't regret that it's the way things are now with giant Hollywood movies, because it's like, you know, we've never gotten the amount of time to spend time with these characters, because
Yeah.
like comic books are soap operas. They're like serialized, long form storytelling.
Yeah.
And if, I was saying like those doing the DC movies as one-offs, but there is something so satisfying about watching these characters go on this entire
Yeah.
journey.
Mhm.
Like, and that's we've never seen that in the theaters before. So it's just, it takes those, like a hype moment in Breaking Bad where something pays off after so long.
Yeah.
You're watching that by yourself at home, like, yeah.
Yeah.
But you're in a theater. In Westwood, there's the Fox Theater, or I'm trying to remember the name. We call it the Bruin Theater, and it's 1,200 seats, and that's where
wow.
where I saw
Wow.
Infinity War.
Oh, come
Oh,
on now,
man.
dude. That's
and it's
awesome.
just everybody's
It's like a
opening
concert.
night.
Like you're just like, yeah.
And that is like the way to experience those movies. Their
Yeah.
culture. It's the only. You think about it, it's one of the only things we have left that is a mass cultural experience, because
Yeah.
everything else is so atomized.
Yeah.
Yeah, getting into a theater with a bunch of people screaming and cheering with you is like, that's an unrivaled experience. I went and saw RRR, which is this Hollywood movie.
to see that, dude.
It's out of theaters, I think, right now, at least here. It might be in some theaters in the US, but when the moment's on streaming, we're gonna have a party here.
Come
We're gonna get
on.
ready together.
Let's go.
Yeah, I
I'm
need
so
to watch
excited.
It's that good, huh?
We talk about hype moments, right? And just like, because they have their special effects, they have other things, but just like, that's a film that understands like that anime payoff. It's
Yeah.
like how to hit you hard, just like Attack on Titan hits you. It's like, how do you hit them so hard that people start clapping spontaneously?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
have to do it in a group setting too, because like
Yeah.
I thought about going solo to see it, and I thought about going with a
No,
friend.
you
He
gotta-
couldn't go, and I'm
group
like,
is what you need.
man, it's got to be that. So to have it here would be fantastic.
Well,
So
we
down
watched
for that.
one time. We watched a Bollywood film here, Saho,
Yeah.
Oh, it was so fun, dude.
which is it's the same thing. Where that one was because you guys watched that on the
Yeah,
React,
and Saho is like not a good movie.
no, but it's so like
it's so hype.
it's so hype still,
Mhm.
because it's just the reveal. It's like you're talking about. It's
Yeah.
all about the reveal.
Yeah.
And it's the same thing if you lean into it as a viewer. Suspension of disbelief.
Yeah,
If you
go
just
have fun with
enjoy,
it.
same with wrestling. It's the exact same thing. Like if you lean into it, and Scott's back in my day, Scott Steiner comes out to challenge Booker T. I'm going, and I remember they had a match, and we were on Team Booker T all day, and no one thought he was going to win, and Booker T pulled it off, and my brother went for a high five, and he slapped my hand so hard, I was screaming. It was awful pain. And I looked at him, and I remember totally meaning this. I said, "It was worth it." I said that as my hand was just in total blistering pain. It's like that kind of hype for something that doesn't matter if you don't care about it. Like just committing to caring about it.
Yeah.
But what's the best part? Is it the reveal, or is it when the lights go down and they start flickering on and off, and you're like, where's it gonna be? Like that moment
Yeah.
where
There's
the
no moment where you're more locked into what you're
the
watching.
world
Yeah.
just opens up, and it's like anything can happen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you get excited.
That's Bollywood, man. So good. So good. I personally prefer it to Hollywood. I'm just gonna
Yeah,
say
me
that.
too. Unfortunately, there's like a lot of jank, but when the jank goes away and a couple of and it comes together and it's not distracting,
Mhm.
it's so good.
But man, that one movie that you reviewed, I can't remember what it was called, but where they replaced the guy and made him smaller.
Yeah.
Oh, so impressive.
That is some of the most impressive work I've ever seen in my life.
yeah.
I still don't understand how they did it or
Yeah.
why they did it.
Copious
Hire a
amounts of
smaller
rotor
person.
paint.
Yeah, just step one. Hire a smaller person. But like the level of talent.
Apparently,
is-
the actor is the one who paid for the movie and owns the VFX company.
Oh, wow.
So he was just like, I want to do this, and
I
will
want
build
to
a
be
team."
small.
I want to be. Yeah.
De-age me.
He's
Yeah.
like in India, he's like Tom Cruise plus Brad Pitt
Yeah.
in terms of
dang,
fame
son.
level.
Okay.
Yeah. So he's
I
just
thought you
So
were going to
he's
say in
worth
terms
it.
of height.
he's like 7 feet tall.
Yeah. Man, yeah, it's so impressive, some of the stuff. So RR, the fact that you say it's like legitimately fantastic
I mean,
on all
Freddie and I
levels.
were just raving about it yesterday again. We got together. There's
That's a must.
there's this dance number in the middle called it's the song called Not To Not To. And I guess Not To means like homegrown. Like the scene starts like they're in this British palace and there's this whole like colonialism like revolution thing and these two Indian dudes are there and one guy's like a country bumpkin and like his buddy is like a cop, like a little more refined. But, they're in the British palace, so, like, they're just being looked down upon, and, like, they're doing their waltzes and stuff like that, and this one guy, like, walks in, like, what are you two doing here? What do you guys know about culture? Can you do the tango? Can you do the waltz? And, like, each time he busts out an example, and, like, that guy knows how to dance. I'm like, oh, he's got some moves. And then these guys are like, yeah, and, like, and then can you do not to? And they just bust out this hard Indian dance song, but, like, it doesn't go into full music video mode. It stays almost like a Disney film where it's all in story.
Right.
And they're like challenging this guy, but and then like the lyrics of the song are about how like being homegrown and like knowing your roots, like that's where real power comes from. So it's like doing the whole Disney thing with a message. And, you know, they're doing a choreography. And then partway through, like towards the end, it shifts. And it shifts from it being like we're choreographed and singing to like now we're back in reality. We don't know the words to the song anymore. We're still dancing, but we're not choreographed dancing. And now it's like a dance battle to see who can keep doing this dance move the longest and who has the energy to like challenge each other. And it's like now the British versus these two Indian guys in a big circle just doing this move over and over. And like that shift from like song and like world building to now full on character, like fighting, but in the world of the song. Like I haven't seen any other Indian movies do that. Like they're always,
cool.
you know, music videos, pause back to the story.
Yeah.
Whereas now it's like, okay, now we're back in the movie, song's still going. And it's so good.
Yeah, I find the like let's cut to just a random music video to be kind of lazy. And I feel even some American musicals kind of do that where they don't balance like, okay, what does this song do in the terms of these characters in this world? Like, is this a dream? Is this you know, is this actually in the world of the story?
Mm-hmm.
And
you know, a movie I thought did that really well was Rocket Man. Like,
I haven't seen it.
It's like I went in kind of low expectations and I was like, wow, like I don't really like musicals at all. And I was like, this is really good. Like, cause they do the context of like, it starts to get weird and surreal, but you're like, okay, it's him being on like drugs or something.
Right.
And like,
yeah.
and it's done very well. And you're just like, the transitions are like, there's this, he's singing like the finale of Rocket Man and he shoots off in a rocket. And then the next is him waking up like all like hungover on the plane. And like, it's the rocket goes up and hits the plane and then he's just there. And you're like, oh, that was awesome. Like,
that's cool.
It's well done. Like, cause
it's thoughtful, isn't it? It's like there's intention behind it. It's not
it's
it's
like
not an appendix in the movie. It's like,
it's great transition moments, like and well done. Like it was very cool.
Yeah. I saw In the Heights, which was the Lin-Manuel, like the first musical he did. And they did the movie and it was kind of the opposite where the whole movie is like the sing talking that they do in like Hamilton. So it for in a film that's really never worked for me is where the whole movie is like it's like when is the song? So and there's no really delineation between like when like they're walking on the side of a building, gravity doesn't work, and then they're still sing talking, but it's normal now. And that I feel like American films sometimes have a difficult time with the music.
Well, I mean, we've kind of given up on our musical roots for a lot of stuff. You know, like obviously musicals are still around here and there, but like it's not like it was in the 50s or 60s where it's just like you just have dance numbers and like every movie, like that's how they get their spectacle.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it's like a whole marketing thing over in India. It's like you need to have your music video so it can go up on T series. Like you need to have it divided into certain parts and you have all your regions covered. And like there's all these like different things they hit for like how their movies get marketed versus over here.
I just love it. It feels like that as a community, they've just all decided that whatever you want to do, you can do it.
You know how they introduce one of the characters in that film? I mean, both character introductions are amazing, but so there's one, they're in a riot, right? He's a cop and like they're on a little outpost surrounded by like 100,000 people and they are like on the verge of rioting. They're shaking the fences. They shake the fence so hard and all the cops like stumble back except for one. And then a guy throws like a rock and like it breaks the picture of like the chief consulate of like this colony. And the guy's like, I want that man arrested. And he's like, guy's like in the middle of like a million people rioting. This guy's like, and he goes into the crowd and he gets the guy and he brings him back. And that's how they introduce one of the characters. And the movie never goes down from there. It only goes
That's
up.
awesome.
It's so good. It's so good. The storytelling's just so good. Like, yeah. And it's all fundamentals. There's nothing like super crazy and new. It's just all fundamentals of filmmaking storytelling just executed well. And it's like, oh, right. You can make movies like this still.
Yeah. The standout example to me is, you know, they're attacking the city. And you're probably intimately familiar with this one where, you know, the men with the shields, they pull down the coconut tree, whatever the heck that thing was. And they launch themselves as like a cannonball of shields. Like, that is so cool, man. Yes. And then, like, I found myself so many times watching American films going, I know where this is going. Okay. I know they're at the low point. Okay. And now we got about 30 minutes left. They're going to bring it back up. And okay. Oh, resolution. Fantastic. Okay. Let's go home. And this is like at any moment, it feels like anything could happen. Oh, this one's 4 hours. Okay, I'll begin. And like
And
20
there's
minutes
8
in, there's this
twists.
crazy, 8 twists, inside of one twist, and like anything can happen. And that to me is the most exciting part about watching a movie, is being kept on your toes. And I feel like with some Bollywood films, you're on your toes the whole time, to where you're physically exhausted at the end, but so satisfied.
Yeah, and it's all so visual. Like
Yeah.
again, with like, I call them, like, a lot of the movies that get nominated for Oscars are like actor movies, where it's like put
Oscar
a camera on a
bait, like,
tripod, put it in the corner of the room,
And get out of the way.
get your coverage, and that's your movie.
The entire movie's a oneer.
Throw some stock footage in between scenes,
Right.
And then it's like
drone shot, dramatic lighting.
Yeah.
Like,
And
Yeah.
like the Indian movies, they just nail the visual storytelling.
Yeah. So, needless to say, we're gonna have an RRR party. and I
I'm
can't
so
wait.
excited for that. I'm so excited.
June
Yeah,
3rd, 2022, baby. Woo!
Is that when it comes
Is that
out?
when it's out?
That is great.
April, May, June. Okay. That's not too bad. That's not too
It's
bad.
almost May.
Oh my gosh, dude. Yeah, last time, because we had like a full like Indian buffet.
Oh, did you?
Yeah.
Yeah, we
Oh
bought
my
Yeah, I missed out.
gosh, it
I'm
was
sad.
so fun, dude.
We'll
So-
do it next time. Just get a
And we
whole
have-
Indian
Let's do
buffet.
it. Let's do it.
And we have more
Let's do
peeps
it.
in the studio now, so it can be
Yeah.
an even more epic.
We
We'll
got-
have to do a projector on the wall, so like really like set up.
Oh my gosh, we should sell
Yes.
tickets.
Yeah, I mean, it's gonna be a good time. Everybody we know is gonna come.
Oh, dude, I wanted it to be the 3rd, June 3rd.
June 3rd.
I wanted it to be the 3rd already. Yeah, it's so cool.
Yeah. Well, I guess we're kind of at the end of our podcast. We just talked about Batman the whole time, but hey, what else? What else is new?
Humbled by your
Batman and
knowledge,
bowling.
man.
What more can you ask for?
Yeah. Cool. Well, thanks for listening to the podcast, everybody. I hope you had a good one. It's I guess Monday right now, so yeah, happy Monday.
Happy Monday. It begins. Another week begins.
Yeah. Another chance to go out there and do your best, right, everybody?
Yeah, what a positive spin on it. I love it.
Go
Yeah.
out there and offend someone.
Let's take back Mondays. Come on, we're taking it back.
Yeah. It's the second day of the week, technically. All right. Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.